Sound check and light check. Ready in 5 minutes. Sound check. Hello, hello.
Hey, hi.
I have something really exciting for you to talk about. Maybe we have a few minutes after our session.
Uh, I have a pretty tight schedule today. I have a an hour and a half after our session starts. I have an appointment I leave for, and they need a little prep time. I'm delighted to set up other time to talk, but that doesn't sound practical.
That's fine. It's really kind of like just a maybe even a 5 minute check-in. Did you plan for an hour or an hour and a half today?
An hour
Okay, perfect. Perfect. But it doesn't need to be today. We can do, how's tomorrow looking for you?
tomorrow. Let me think. Uh, Friday. Yeah, fine. You mean same time tomorrow?
Let me just see.
Simone, you're saying same time tomorrow?
Just a moment. I'm just checking the diary. 6 o'clock my time. Could you do a tad earlier? Just like half an hour earlier? Would that be okay, or is that too early?
What time would that be?
That would be half an hour before now.
Absolutely, yes.
Perfect. Great. I put that in and I sent you an invite.
Is that just you and me or a group again?
It's probably just you and me because the other person that I would like to introduce you to is in India, and that's really late at night.
Okay.
So unless we
And
could do
how long
earlier,
will that last?
unless we could do earlier.
I can do earlier. I could do say a half hour earlier.
No, it's more like you're in Pacific time, right?
No mountain.
Mountain time. I just need to find something that works with India as well as as with you. But we can just chat tomorrow. That's in the diary. That's perfect. At
Okay, that's 10:30 my time,
great.
making it a half hour before today and lasting how long?
Like even just half an hour is fine.
Okay.
Just a little proposal because I might have actually a business venture where our agreement would work with.
I missed the
Something
last. You
I
you
might
have
have a
a what?
business venture that our agreement that your proposal might work with because it needs to be something that I necessarily haven't started yet. Because I have too many people involved already in the things that I do, which is tricky. So it's a brand new venture that might tickle your fancy. I think it will. I think it might.
Okay.
So
And today, what's on my mind is your venture strategy and specifically your monetization plan for the Ramadan book venture.
yes, let me just put on record. I did send some messages out. Kristen wanted to join, so but we can just start on time. And so today's session is still in the theme or with the example of the Ramadan book, and we would like to look with Ron at spicing up our reach out, messaging, how to reach out to maybe influencers or like even radio stations, just like having a snappy little intro for them to go yay or nay kind of a thing. Ideally, just yay because it's so good you can't possibly say nay on it. That is the idea. Um, so over to you, Ron. Have you given it some thoughts so far? Or would you like to start with my little intro that I've shared with you to start off with, that we can kind of like maybe look at an example and pick to pieces and upgrade, or what would you prefer?
Yes, let's start with your intro. Um,
Wonderful.
do we have any other people with us? I don't see anyone else.
No, there's no one here just now.
Okay, that's fine.
Um, but I think Kristen wanted to join, so I did send her another message and a reminder. Let's
The
see.
I always love to be on a session with Kristen.
I know, isn't she lovely? She's just so beautiful.
Wow,
Okay, I
so
would just
so creative and warm and supportive and great questions and name a virtue.
I know she's full of goodness. And she's also in a similar niche, which is really enriching for this particular project. But I haven't, let me just check if there's a message from her, because I've just sent a message. Nope, no message. She was online. Cool. Let's just see. Okay, I do a little screen share of the words
Just
that I
to
have.
just to clarify my earlier comment just now, um, in addition to hearing your thoughts about your venture, its marketing, its monetization, I would like to make you a proposal for my participation and my compensation
Mhm.
in your future venture. uh, as a percent of revenues. That's the kind of proposal that I make to a lot of people who I'm mentoring in various ways.
Yes. Would you like to do that in here recorded, or would you like to do that privately? Because I would like to speak with you about that tomorrow.
Well, I don't feel secret about it, but I think probably, but I don't know how you would feel about it. So why don't we do it privately on
Okay,
tomorrow?
wonderful. Fantastic. So I will just share this bit. Can make it bigger, but I will read it out. No, it doesn't really do bigger. Can't stretch that. Let's see if I can make it bigger some other ways. There you go.
Let me see if I can pinch it out. Yeah, I can read it.
Yeah. Introducing a new unique perspective on Ramadan. Hi team, whatever it is, kind of like who I would approach. I wonder if you would like to hear about why a non-Muslim woman obsessively interviewed Muslim women to dissolve her own prejudice, misunderstandings, and stranger danger with curiosity. The result is a wonderful book that holds the power to not just enrich Muslims during Ramadan by sharing global tools and combat common distractions, but also to enrich the life of spiritual seekers who have a door opened into a culture we don't often get a chance to connect with closely. Let me know if you're interested in learning more. Warm regards, Simona Moya.
This is general persuasion communication themes to various people, such as those you said before, influencers, radio, and so on. Is that what it is?
Yes. So I get usually one shot with an influencer on Instagram. So I can follow them and then I can send them one message. If it's too long, they don't read it, apparently. So, so it needs to be concise and a call to action to allow me to speak with them, because they need to press the OK button, that I can send more than one message.
What is the purpose of the message as you hope they would realize?
Well, their interest, their general interest in it. Um,
What is the specific purpose? What action would you like them to take? You say you have a call to action.
okay.
And the call to action I see here is let me know if you're interested in learning more. That is what I would call a weak call to action.
Yes. So by them
Because
even
it
replying to my message with anything, I can then I can then speak more with them. Hello, Kristen. She just arrived, so I just wanted to.
Hey, Kristen. Yay,
Hello.
Kristen.
It's see you guys. I tried thinking it wasn't working for a while. Finally, I went to a different one. Here I am.
Well, you missed out on both of us raving about all your virtues.
Oh,
I know. You need to catch the replay.
I will. Everybody could stand to hear that. That is nice. Thank you.
Yes, so definitely need a stronger call to action, and definitely it needs to be grabbing rather. This is just a nice, polite hello, basically. And I know that Ron can turn this into a non-resistible kind of like, I need to meet her kind of a thing. So that's kind of like what we're here from, to go from bland and average to Ronifying it.
Thank you.
Ronifying is always a good thing.
I know.
Thank you both. I'll start by saying that before you're writing copy to someone, I think it's a good idea just between we insiders to say what it is you'd ideally like to have happen.
Okay. So
The
these
attempt to,
influencers, they have like 50K plus Muslim women on their books. So ideally, I would like them to feature me on my book, but they don't even know about me, and they get a lot of messages. So it really needs to grab their attention because they get a lot of messages like what I wrote, and that's why I reached out.
you want to grab their attention so that they do what?
Are interested in sharing what a non-Muslim has to say about Ramadan. Or hearing it first, because why would they want to share it if they don't even know what it is?
Sharing it to who?
Their own audience, because it will be exactly what their audience wants to hear.
And who do you imagine is their audience ideally?
Well, they have Muslim women. That's the ones that I've targeted. Muslim women. One does exercise, one does cooking, one does reading the Quran. One has published a book as well on Ramadan. Kind of like they're all the Ramadan crowd, business women in Ramadan, and they're all only catering to female Muslims.
That went too fast for my note taking. I got publishers. Could you go back and slowly give me the list of other types of people who you ideally would like to get interested?
Yeah. So there's exercise for Muslim women.
No, that's a topic. I'm asking, who are these people?
Oh, they're called influencers. They're on Instagram.
Yeah, but see, influencer is a very big, broad, abstract phrase.
They are an influencer for female Muslim women.
That's the overarching abstract thing you want, influencers. But then you think you're giving me a list of influencers, but the only influencer I got is publisher, and I heard a reference to book, and I lost you about there. Are these publishers, as in editors?
No.
Are they authors? Do they have a book? You see, I'm lost at influencer.
Okay.
You lost me at influencer.
Would you like to have a profile of each of those influencers, or what would you like to have something different than influencers?
No, influencer is the big, broad, abstract phrase. You want to excite influencers. What does influencer mean? Influencer means they have the ability to influence others. For instance, if they're
large amounts of people.
First principles thinking.
Yeah, 50 plus, like 50K plus is associated with, you can call yourself an influencer.
So my question to you is unclear, I gather.
Yeah.
Okay. I want a concrete list of kinds of influencers.
Okay. I can go through all of them. I have a list of them with what they do. Would you like me to do
No, I don't need an exhaustive list. I need whatever 4, 5, 6 examples from your list.
Yeah. Okay. There's one woman who writes a Ramadan cookbook.
Okay, so the category is author of a Ramadan cookbook,
which work well with my digestion chapter because I don't give recipes. So I was wanting to kind of like join with someone that does do recipes in a win-win situation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Hang on. Okay, got it.
So
The
this
author of
lady
Ramadan
seems to be
Cookbook,
hard
who is
to
a
get to.
compliment because
Yeah.
she, because you don't give recipes.
Exactly. And I could connect her or my audience to her cookbook, which would be a great compliment.
And what is your audience?
I don't have an audience yet. So that is my weak bit because I haven't published yet. And I don't have followers.
You and I are in very similar places, Simone.
I thought you would like to be here.
That's what I'm trying to do too, is leverage people's audiences in order to do, and I don't have a whole lot yet. So, and I haven't published yet. So,
So I also have a course, part of my publishing course, where there is how to reach influencers. So what I learn is how to find them, how to follow them. And then the next thing they say, oh, you just write them a message, which there isn't much information and it's not strong enough. If you only have one shot, it needs to be a good one.
okay, so is that what we're doing? Is that what we're doing here? This is the message?
Messaging. Yeah.
Okay. I'm up to speed, I think.
Cool. Fantastic. So it's for monetizing the book. It needs to go out there.
This may be helpful. I have a close your ears around a magazine that I would like to monetize.
I know, and it's in the same league, so it's perfect. I would also love to feature in your magazine. And it's very interesting.
Except the one mismatch is that Simone does not have a monthly chapter about Ramadan for dogs. Do you get this joke, Simone?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
So the next, would you like to expand on this particular one, or would you like me to go to the next?
I think if you would continue the list that so far has on it.
So the next
authors of Ramadan related publication.
So there is one which has a prayer book, which is like a Ramadan journal. So it's just a journaling book, which she published last year, which would be really handy alongside my book. Again, a win-win.
Is the book a how to do a journal, or is it a
It's a journal.
Pre-created?
Yeah.
What do you mean by journal?
So you can write into the book your Ramadan experience.
And how is the book organized? Is it organized by categories similar to your categories?
No, it's taking a little inspiration out of the Quran and thinking about that and pray, like basically taking prayers apart and looking at each part of it.
You write in the journal based on prayers?
Prompts, yeah, prayer prompts.
In Quran, which are provided?
Mm-hmm. So I don't do that in my book, but I do suggest to do that.
I got it.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's like, they're all really kind of like cool matches. So there's one woman who does specific Ramadan workouts. She's
well, wait, well, sorry, you're getting ahead of me again.
Okay, sorry.
It's not a complaint. It's just that I'm thinking I'm in a parallel creative path, so it takes a little while.
No.
The journal, you write something based on a prayer. Is it completely open-ended? There's just a prayer. It doesn't tell you what about the prayer you should be writing in your journal about, or is it say this is a prayer about faith? See if you can list every example of faith that you have. That would be more specific.
There is a little bit more specific, but not that that specific. It's mainly to do with the actual Arabic and then turn into English, and how the nuances from the native Arabian gets changed when you change it into English. It's a study course.
Have I told you about my journal experience, which I called Lessons Learned and Relearned?
No.
Oh, that's a valuable story to tell you. But that would be a relationship. That would be you recommending a journal, or you teaming up with someone who had a Lessons Learned and Relearned journal. Should I interrupt and tell that story, or what are you in the mood for? You want to continue listing specific kinds of potential influencers?
Mhm.
Okay, go ahead.
So the next one is a clinical psychologist in Harley Street, London. She's like well established, works only with Muslim women. She does clinical hypnotherapy and clinical psychology.
Hypnotherapy.
Mhm.
You are going into a deep trance in which you are not thinking of food. Okay.
Makes me want some Hershey's Kisses.
I want to, you see my Valentine's chocolates, I just want to eat them. Whenever I think of Ramadan, I just want to eat them. Yeah.
Funny.
So would you like the next one? Or would you
Sure.
like to have more information on that one?
No, roll on.
Cool. We have an exercise specialist who's Muslim, fasting, and does specific HIIT exercises, which are high intensity exercises during Ramadan. So that's for people that like more than my little yoga class that I have in the book. Like people that exercise anyhow, they just need to maybe adjust their practice for Ramadan.
Mm-hmm.
Then
These are, I see now, I'm getting very satisfied that these people they're not just influencers and kindred spirits, they're very closely linked to the topics in your book. And they really do have a terrific motive to team up with you in some way.
yeah.
I'm getting it.
Cool. There's one more person who does like her entire thing is she's non-Muslim. She would probably love to tap into the Muslim market. And she sells castor oil wraps, which help with detoxing, sleep, digestion, and all sorts of other things. And it's easy to apply in Ramadan. And you wear it overnight. It's like she has a lot of following, and it's a good product. And I have written about castor oil wraps before I even met her. So, but she sells them worldwide and has a lot to say about them, much more than I could possibly put into the book.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And then there's one more when you're ready.
Not quite yet.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yes, one more.
Oh, I have a Muslim lady which is wrapped all the way beside the eyes, and she does awareness, coaching, and spirituality for Muslim women. And she's quite a powerhouse. She's quite inspirational.
She's a burqa wearing, and what are the topics she deals with?
Spirituality and personal development. And she's a businesswoman. So she deals with women in business. which is really amazing. It's just so enriching for me to hear her speak and to be that really strong powerhouse with a burqa, which I've never met really anyone that doesn't just walk like behind their husband, not really saying anything. So she
Can
definitely
you,
has a lot to say.
it's a digression, but perhaps just a brief digression. Can you say how she projects her power past her burqa?
Well, she has like, you know, she speaks openly about why she wears it, what it does, what it does for her, and that it stands in no way in the way of being a businesswoman. In a world like she's in the Western world, she lives in America. It's quite cool. She's very inspiring. I would love to, and she does interviews as well. So, love an interview with her. So then we have Muslim radio. We have Ramadan radio.
Have you met her face to face?
No, can't get my hands on them. Haven't met anyone face to face.
Because they're just not where you are geographically, huh?
Well, yes, they are not, but they're all online anyway. So face to face is like this. Like I meet you here face to face, kind of like, you know, that's
Yeah.
a face as as close as we will get, you know. I know. So you don't need to have this immense carbon footprint to meet all your friends all over the place. So I've learned that by
So
writing my first book, which an author that I've never met face to face. So, and it worked just fine. Yeah. Are you ready for the next? Are you ready for the rest, for the next one, Ron? Oh, you're muted. You might be speaking, but we can't hear you.
that's why you couldn't hear me. I'll be darned. That's what happens.
Yeah.
I was asking what you know about me just from my eyes.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I wasn't speechless there. I just really.
Yeah.
There you go. But I say a lot, you know, and her eyes are definitely fiery. So there's not like there's no kind of like really she's alive and fully participating in life, expressing
Wow.
with her eyes.
I'm covering up everything below your eyes, and boy,
I think it would be a really good experience to wear a burqa, to be honest, to see how the world kind of like, because they wouldn't know I'm not Muslim if I wear it, right? How does the world kind of like meet you differently? I think that would be a great experiment. You're muted again.
I swear I didn't touch mute. I'm covering up everything below the tip of your nose, and way less information gets through compared to seeing your eyes. Tremendous amount is communicated by the eyes. I'd say,
It is.
yeah, tenfold, hundredfold more than just the mouth.
Mhm.
Interesting. Okay, that was a tangent. Yes, you wanted to go on.
But what I really find really fascinating is not having this reflection from the world around you, like not being like validated all the like I get validated a lot just walking down the road. People smile at me all the time, and you know, like I'm interactive, and wearing a burqa is kind of like you don't have that outside stimuli, so you need to be quite self-efficient on the inside. I think you need to really kind of
That
like
is interesting. That is
Mhm.
really interesting because I'm like that too. When I walk around, it's like I am everybody's saying hi. I'm saying hi to everybody. We're talking and it's, but wow, to not have that, I wonder how much of what goes into my day and how I'm feeling is, how much of my, I guess I don't know what words to use for it, but that, I guess validation is a good word,
Or
but
recognition.
something just you,
Visibility.
yeah, and what that causes in terms of feeling connected to the
Mhm,
world around us and how that relates to how we feel within ourselves. That's very interesting.
mhm.
When
Because
I lived in,
yeah, you
when I
go.
lived in San Francisco, the main street near me was Union Street. That was the shopping street. And I often marveled at if I could walk 6 blocks down Union Street and be completely invisible.
Hmm.
Nobody would look at me, nobody would acknowledge me, nobody would smile at me if I was in a bad mood. But if I was in a good mood,
Yeah.
if I was enjoying life and appreciating myself and chuckling at life and so on, not only did people notice me, virtually everybody was saying, "Hi, how's your day? How's it going?" Um, and they were just doing everything they could to connect. Um, they'd smile at me, they'd chuckle. Uh, it was just amazing how they could read my insides.
Mhm. So if you take
Wow.
all that away and they don't do eye contact with other, they don't bring sparkle through their eyes like Matt, that's not the point. It's really kind of like being with yourself good enough and being in straight communion with God at all times, rather than making it a practice that you do 5 days, 5 times a day. Just
May
living
I
that.
may, may I propose that this is a fascinating article? It's not a whole book. It isn't necessarily a chapter of the book, but it could be that. But it would certainly be a fascinating article that everyone in the world would be curious about, independent of their spiritual orientation.
Yeah.
Uh, how how is it? The article would have a provocative title like um, how come women wearing a burqa? How come that many women who wear a burqa are experienced as highly present and visible and get a lot of interaction from strangers? In other words, the puzzle, the paradox would be the headline of the article. It would be a super curiosity article. I think that's an article that could get 1 million readers.
Mhm. It's very fast. I think everyone wonders. And it's really good because I have two burqa wearing ladies in my 40 that I've interviewed, and we had like I didn't even know I had prejudice about it. But I do remember when my child, who's autistic, um, came in contact with a nursery teacher who was wearing a burqa here in the UK. She didn't last very long. The parents complained because children learn from facial expressions, and that's not something the kids weren't afraid of her. The kids liked her very much. William
Uh,
really got her because he gets confused with facial expressions being autistic. He doesn't
Hmm.
read facial cues at all. So for him, it took a whole layer away, and he could completely connect with her. It was
could,
That's
spectacular.
interesting.
Yeah, go ahead.
could I suggest that you take a note right now,
Mhm.
pencil note right now,
Yeah,
or however you take notes,
yeah.
um, to consider writing a grabber
Mhm.
uh, about what this is a bad draft. Don't take this as a proposed grabber. Why people can read through read a face through a burqa, make appropriate contact, and what it has to teach us about how you can become more visible. Is one of the great ways to learn is to see how someone is seemingly blocked from learning, blocked from anything. One of the great ways to do X is to find someone who seemingly is blocked from X, but who does it anyway.
Yeah.
And
like no arms, no legs, no worries. Kind of like,
yes,
kind of like, whoa.
they can't see, or they can't hear. They're missing a sense,
Yeah.
or they're missing a limb, or they're missing some mental faculty. And nevertheless, they're delightful, they're warm, they're wise, they're interesting. You can learn from them. That's that whole cluster of puzzles or even paradoxes about how come you can do X without Y?
Yes.
Or how when people do X without Y, how do they do it? That's a better rendition.
That is so interesting.
That could be a monthly column.
Right?
Yes.
Yes, and it would have several columns about burqas, several columns about other.
I have a lady that I teach in yoga with no limbs in Hawaii. She's just the coolest thing ever. She would make a really good story. She's an inspirational speaker. Awesome.
Well, I think this is a good time. Have you gone through your list?
Yeah, so beside that, I just have radio stations and kind of like printed media.
Radio pundit.
And another cluster is interfaith communities.
Say again, a cluster of what?
Interfaith.
Interfaith.
Yeah.
Here's another model that this suggests.
The door just banged. Can I just quickly get it? Because I know it's my key that's going to be handed in. Is that okay?
Yeah.
1 minute.
This coming into this room or into Ron's creativity space, it's like reading a really good book. I always feel transported into someplace wonderful and I forget about everything else that's going on in the world. It's fabulous.
Wow, thank you.
Thank you.
Be sure to hear Liberty Bluebird from yesterday. You'll get a lot of that.
Oh, goodness. Yesterday was Wednesday. This week. Okay. Yes.
How to see people who are different as amazingly like you in profound ways. You know, it's our valuizing topic rearing its head again, isn't it? how to
It
see
sure
people
is.
who are different. Well, yeah, they're 90% of them is different, or they're different in superficial ways, like the burqa, or they're a different religion, or they don't have some of the senses, or they don't have certain limbs. But if you're out to valueize them, you can find things that are amazingly like you and profoundly interesting. Uh, while we're waiting for Simone,
I'm here. I'm here.
I just want to give Kristen a little commercial for last night's Liberty Bluebird, which she missed. I think the most amazing, striking breakthrough thing that I presented is how to create a radical venture strategy where everything in the strategy it need not be at a specific level, where there is tremendous slack or robustness, where it isn't a tight decision. You don't have to worry about what to charge the CEOs. You don't need to worry about what to pay the salespeople. All these decisions, you see, our topic last night was decisions. All these decisions turn out to be completely insensitive. That is to say, uninfluential. The reason we tend to get tight-assed in our planning and scared and not ready to launch and start making commitments is we think, well, what if I'm a little wrong? What if I pick the wrong level of this variable? The price or the salesperson's compensation or the degree of richness of the training. What if?
Or even the font in the copy.
Exactly. I mean, this is really, it's speaking to me. This is stepping on my toes as well. This is terrific.
Yeah.
Oh, good. So what I'm doing, because I only got half through it last night.
Oh, I wish I was there.
Well, hear the replay and then participate live next Wednesday.
Okay.
What I did is I began to go through the characteristics of the professional selling skills venture that eventually was adopted by half of the top 500 corporations and became a $1 billion acquisition in today's dollars, showing how every dimension is insensitive.
Mm-hmm. It was quite impressive that even just brushing on it, it was really cool. Because you can't leave them out, but it's really not that relevant of what's happening in the leg, right? It's kind of like it needs to be a leg, but the material of the leg doesn't really matter. It's like that. It's really amazing.
Yeah, the more I realized that I was doing that I had built that into that strategy, and essentially all my ventures have had that, you might say, insensitivity or invulnerability, because every dimension was flexible. I think that most people assume the opposite, and they're very scared because they assume the opposite. That they've picked the wrong price, they've picked the wrong cost, they've picked the wrong people. They fear that their decisions are not optimized. Their decisions are imperfect. And this shows that you can build a strategy where there's so much slack, flexibility, and optionality about all the decisions that you don't really have anything to worry about. And if they're all truly strategic, and they've all got that degree of flexibility, you can just start spending. You can start placing your bets, and it'll all work out. And again, I say that I'm teaching it in the usual way, and even more so through examples, one after another.
And the beauty of it, you always say it needs to be easy and playful, right? And by going exactly through what you just, touched on last night, because it's hard to believe that it's easy and playful, because we've done so much hard stuff, haven't we, Kristen?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Currently,
It's
and
like,
it's
how
exhausting.
can that possibly be fun and easy and simple, right? It's just,
Right.
it's like
That's a
one
great
special
comment.
magic. But actually, when you listen to next week's call, because we've already kind of like touched on it a little bit, I can see it happening. And I think that's
Mm.
the missing bit where I just really impressed with.
Yeah, I think the sort of the overarching premise, the meta belief in almost everybody is it's got to be perfect. It's got
Yeah.
to be just right. It's sensitive. And if you don't pick the right number, the right degree, the exact right approach, then you'll be hit by struggle and setbacks. And well, maybe you can succeed anyway because the same person has the attitude everything is about problem solving. Well, the world is going to hit you with one problem after another, one setback, one thing you didn't optimize after another. Well, my ventures, they all have the opposite. I never had to pivot. I never had to re-optimize. I never had to find the perfect solution because all the pillars had this strange flexibility.
May I rudely interrupt? We have
Oh,
10 minutes. Could we just do a little something towards a copy of what we're working on?
Yeah.
That'd
if
be
you wouldn't have
great.
said
And then we
something,
can
I would have
talk
made
Liberty
about 15
Bluebird.
comments.
We could talk about that on next week.
Yeah. And then I'll also tell you then about this lesson learned and relearned journal,
Cool.
which is a whole other kind of journal that I invented. No, that's wrong. That I tripped over. Well, I think we're unpeeling the nature of the challenge here. You got a lot of people who ought to be enthusiastic influencers, collaborators, partners, allies, spokespeople who will talk about you, people who will do deals with you. This is a wonderful collection of such people. And the burning next question in my mind, and we just, not because you missed it, because we haven't gotten to it yet, is, well, what do you want them to do? What is the nature of the collaboration, partnership, or influence that you would like them to do? Do you want them to, if they're doing psychology or therapy or whatever, do you want them to talk about you, to recommend your book? Do you, if they're running groups, do you want them to invite you as a speaker? Do you know what is the nature of the mutually advantageous relationship that you envision?
Yeah. So ideally, it's some kind of, there's different ways. There's social media takeovers where you could post something of yours into theirs, and they could post something from theirs into mine. So it's like cross-pollination. I would like them to be featured in my book, but we're running out of time. And I really needed to get this out earlier than now. And the timeline isn't really working. So I might actually need to let that bit go. Because it's
when does
editing.
Ramadan start?
Well, but it's an editing phase, so can't really do very much anymore. unless I
I'm
find
asking you, can you hear my question? When
When is
does Ramadan
Ramadan?
start?
so 10th of March.
Wow. Do you
So
hope to have a book out before
I
the
have a
10th of
book.
March?
I will have a book out, but not the way I envisioned it necessarily with the collaborations in the book. But the collaborations can still happen outside the book on social media.
You hope to have a digital version of the book out?
No, it will be ready. It will be ready by the end of this month, 15 days. Less than that, 10 days.
I'm asking about the It. Is the
Yes.
It a print book or is the It a
Both.
digital book?
Both. Both at the same time. The digital book is no different from the print book. It's just a digital version of the same thing.
You know, you are doing something very bizarre and foolish, it seems to me. You're collaborating with people without telling them that you're facing a 3 week, a little over a 3 week deadline, the most severe deadline I have heard of anybody ever being on.
It's not
And
real.
you haven't alerted us to that.
No, that's what I thought, but it's actually not the case. There's no need for them to be in my book. They can be in my world without being in my book. And it's not actually all that clever to put all these different people in my book. So I've talked with my publisher about it, and it's nice while we can have some, and I have some in the book. It's not good to have too many, but it's still good to collaborate, which doesn't need to be a feature in the book. That can be happening through social media. So that's not so much. It's more important that we get the right collaboration than that we do a break over the knee kind of like scarcity and deadline thing here. The book is ready. The book can be printed. It gets its interior design done in 2 days, and then it gets printed. Gets one more read over, and that's it.
You want the book to be printed when?
It will be like the publishing date is the 29th of February.
Is that the same as the answer to when is it printed?
Well, that's publishing day. Yeah. So it doesn't
29th of February?
I think you might not understand what that means anymore because books don't get printed anymore. They get printed when you order them. I don't print a stack of books and sell them. That doesn't happen anymore.
Print on
Amazon.
demand.
I don't print a single book. It's an ebook that if you want to have a hard copy, you tell Amazon you want a hard copy or a paperback. It gets printed and sent to you.
If I tell Amazon I want a print copy and I tell them that on 2/29, do they deliver it to me in a couple of days?
Well, it's around 4 days, I think, on a new release book. But the Kindle you can have right away, which is only like a few quid. It's very cheap. So if you're in any rush, you can get the Kindle and then you can wait 4 days for your book.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're somewhere where, it's difficult to get to, but like within the country. It's on all Amazons in France and America and, everyone that has an Amazon, it will be printed in their country and with them within reasonable time.
And price?
Well, I'm still with the publisher talking about that because we're looking what else is out there. It's probably around $24, the hard, like the paperback. And the Kindle version, we probably will have an initial cheap version, like for like £1 or something like that, to get the best-selling author ticket on that one and to get it recognized. Because if it has
What is a
best-
pound in dollars now?
well, it's like whatever. It's like $1. It's not much difference. It's not. They probably do it all a one or whatever that is, €1, $1, and it's like a promo thing. You do that for a few days to get lots and lots of copies out, just on the digital. And you then, you know, bank on people that have the digital and liking the digital to get the real book.
Have you been in any sessions where I talked about the effect of high price, Tiffany being an example?
Well, I do, and that's what I do for a living, a high price, but this is a particular thing to be able to be featured on Amazon on their top seller list. You kind of like need like lots and lots of, like, I sold 1,000 to become a best-selling author. That's a lot of books. And that was for a lower price. But then the price goes up after a few days. So it's really kind of like launch party kind of a thing.
So best-selling authors are based on the count of the sales, not the dollars.
In Kindle dollars, like Kindle books, not normal books. Ebooks. That's how you get the best-selling author. They don't count the other ones.
Well, since we're close to being out of time, let me tell you what I've been thinking about, and I'm ready to begin discussing with you. Tomorrow, we have a plan for tomorrow. I asked myself, I didn't know that you were on that tight a deadline and that Ramadan starts on March 10th. Which for a person with a busy life doesn't give them a chance to read their favorite chapters, even if they had it a week ahead. It puts them under a lot of pressure.
I have given 3 chapters away for the last month, so there's plenty of people that have given. That's where I have lots of testimonials that will go straight as soon as we launch. The testimonials will go into Amazon. You know, I have published before and it did work. So it's just, I just want to do it better and a better reach out on my side.
Yeah, I think it would be good for you to brief me on what
Yeah.
you did and why it worked. We haven't done that.
So I
But
have basically with every Muslim woman I know, I said, like, pick one of these chapters and I sent you a free chapter, and they all came back having learned something, and that's people that are really experienced. So that was really giving me a lot of wind below my wings to kind of like keep going and tightening up and editing and all that. So that's good because you do get a bit tired after a year of writing. So it's kind of like, ooh, it's a bit like a PhD or something, probably, when at the end you're kind of like nearly flat and your energy should not be flat at that point. So that's where these sample chapters really came in handy. So it gave me another boost.
Well, just to name for you what I've been thinking about on your behalf, and I'm looking forward to discussing. I know we don't have time now. I'm just want you to know the topic I've been thinking about. So you can ask me not to think about it or to think about it more. The topic I've been thinking about is monetization, and specifically how to quickly have this produce $1 million in revenues. And I've been putting my creativity behind that issue.
Great.
$1 million total revenue to the venture.
See, if I would be famous, I could release a book only to one person and make them pay lots of money, you know. So because there are all sorts of different strategies, but I'm an unknown author, so there isn't so much leeway with as far as I know, but that just might be my limitation of going for high end, high dollar. But I want to do a nice hardback gold kind of like suede version of it, as a present to a loved one. So I did want to do an exclusive kind of like high-end version of the book.
Mm,
Thicker paper, just like a nice, just a really nice gift rather than just a pocketbook.
mm. Gee, I can't buy gold versions of books during Ramadan because I'm supposed to be fasting during Ramadan.
Yeah,
So I don't buy gold versions of things.
yeah. But it is, this is not for 1 year. This is like, and ideally you buy the Ramadan book long before Ramadan, but no one looks for Ramadan books before Ramadan. So that's at least what my publisher said. And that seems to be the case because the other lady who was published earlier, there wasn't really much happening and she tried really hard and it's only just happening now. There was
In
just no one
in
looking
terms
in
of
January.
your one influencer thought experiment.
Well, it's not
If
just
you were
one. It's like the publisher that I'm with, he publishes Muslim books. So it's the experience that unless it's actually close to whatever is happening,
No,
it
I
doesn't.
didn't mishear you. You said if I had one famous person, you
Yeah,
were just talking that way.
yeah, yeah. So if
So
you have one famous person going, this is it can sell like that.
so for instance, if you were Travis Kelce,
Mhm,
you could make a bracelet with your phone number on it
mhm.
and mention it in your podcast that somebody would point out to Taylor Swift that she and her phone number and her bracelet had been mentioned on your podcast, your New Heights podcast. And then you'd get a chance to meet.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm speaking of probably the greatest influencer in the world at this point, literally.
Mhm.
I heard her quoted earlier today. No, I heard a Swiftie fan saying who had worked hard to buy the expensive ticket to the latest concert, and she said, "Just think, I'll be breathing the same air as Taylor Swift."
Like Taylor Swift was here this weekend on Saturday. She was in Glasgow, just over the river. No way you could get a ticket. It was insane.
Yeah, I thought that was one of the most interesting quotes I ever heard. I'll be breathing the same air as Travis,
I find that slightly
as
offensive and
Taylor
really
Swift.
off-putting. Really, so just
I know it's appalling, but it's
yeah,
also, but it shows the depth to which somebody wants to be in the body of, to accept as a mentor, the depth of connection that they want with her. Just breathing the same air.
well, that's what the Beatles had and things like that. People were keeling over just because they were in the presence
Yeah.
of them, and it has been all it has been done many times over, but not at the scale because of social media and
Mhm.
reaching the whole
So
world so easily.
are you up for beginning to think about
Yep.
what is it you, now I understand what you mean by influencers,
Yeah.
and would you begin to think about what it is you want them to do?
Yeah. Because if I add all the followers of all my influencers together, there is more than 1 million of the ones that I've just told you. And
Oh,
even if
really?
they buy the Kindle book, I would have made
Mm.
1 million.
I have to go, guys, but I will
Yeah.
see you soon.
Wonderful. Lovely.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.
Yeah. And you need to go as well, Ron, don't you? Sharp.
Yeah, I do. All right, so
So
tomorrow,
if I have a book for $20, does that make sense? It kind of like puts it in perspective a bit.
well, I don't know, and I don't want to bias your creativity. Think about all the things conceivably, just wild speculations, creative process, not decisions, creative potentials,
Mhm.
hints, half-baked ideas, quarter-baked ideas of what these influencers might do. Don't worry about how we get them to do it. Maybe it's a little letter like you started out this meeting with. Maybe it's something else. Start with what you'd like them to do.
Okay.
And
Great.
then let's talk about that tomorrow. Let's also talk about what I've been working on, which is how to monetize this to the level of $1 million.
Mhm.
And let's talk about Ron's proposal for mentoring you on this venture and being compensated through revenue sharing, sometimes called a royalty.
Mhm. Great.
All right.
Cool. So can I just do you have 5 minutes? 5 minutes?
Yep.
Go. Fantastic. So I've been in contact with my other book, the Immunizing Against Breakdown, kind of like, no, burnout book, like the suicide prevention book. I've been in touch with a company in India that would like to create an app and like our method as part of their thing. And they do fingerprint analysis. And I do a whole coaching program, a whole thing based on your fingerprints. And apparently your fingerprints say a lot about you. I don't know. I just got my reading through. I haven't had a look at it yet. But what my issue is with partnering up with you with something like the book, I have too many missing pieces. So I'm a half a woman show, trying to do something where I only have half the skill set to actually do well. So I don't think that's a good idea. Where this Indian company, it's a company, they have everything in place, they have funding in place, they have people that know tech in place, they have research in place, they have famous people that credit them in place. It's a much more lucrative venture. It's definitely reaching 1 billion kind of like possibility. It's very unique. There's no one really on the market doing it at the moment. And they're quite interested in having me as a partner in there, because they saw my fingerprints and apparently they're so impressive that I make like the missing part of the session of the business, and they are ready to launch in April. And I said, here, I'm not interested in becoming a shareholder or a director, unless you have a chat with Ron, because with Ron on my side, I would feel confident that this would not go belly up because we're missing something. So I've basically just told the guy this morning that if they would like me in their team, they would need to considering partnering up with you as well. So I would
That's
feel more comfortable
quite a compliment
taking
to me.
you with me there and do our creative things and what we do there. It's really clear in my fingerprints that I'm not going to do their IT or anything, but that I'm full of very good ideas. And I'm like the creative kind of like person that also really holds, like motivates and inspires people, which they're still missing, kind of like they're all kind of like a bit on the boring side. So they really like my energy and what I bring to a group as a
Do you
person.
do you believe in reading palms, reading fingers? Do you believe in reading tarot cards.
Well, it's all the same to me. It's all the same to me. It's like, I don't believe in it. Do I believe in personal development? Hell yeah. Do you get people into personal development by doing something absurd or reading the tea leaves or something like that? Probably. Because then, that's what people love. The average Joe loves the reading. But the vision is not the reading, even though the reading is apparently really good. We need to see that. I haven't looked at mine yet. But it is about having a whole personal development app system attached to it. So that's just a hook because it's new. No one does fingerprint reading.
Mm-hmm.
So how can that become invulnerable to competition and things like that? All that is really important. And then even your selling system, selling it differently would make that very different. Do I believe in fingerprints or tarot cards or teacup reading? No. It's not my thing. But what is my thing is a coaching that will be attached to that. It will highlight for people the area they most need to look at, which is great. It's always good to look at any area in your life and reflect it well. There isn't an area where you cannot reflect on, so they can't really get it wrong.
When I meet someone who believes in palmistry or reading tarot cards or whatever, and I would probably have the same. This is the first I hear of fingerprint reading, but I notice that people who are enthusiastic about these techniques say, I met with him and he was so accurate. That seems to be their favorite word. He was so accurate.
But it's so vague, it's just like, so the only time I've ever been impressed is I've met the astrology person who was serving the Swedish and Norwegian kingdom. He was reading for 50 years their astrology chart, right? He must be one of the best in the world. He's really good. And he did mine, and I have no idea how he did it, but like it was gobsmacking. It was detailed. And he says it's all number and mathematics. I'm not sure about that, but that was completely accurate. He knows nothing about. He's never met me before, and he gave me a reading. I've never heard it. Nothing was surprising because he doesn't give you the future. It's not about that. It's about keeping you on your path and not letting you be distracted by shiny objects. So there's things that lie that are in that you're kind of like predestined to do or something like that, and they won't go past you. You can't mess it up really. But it's about a reassurance, I think, which I got from it, which was really nice, and it didn't inhibit me in any way. It was very interesting.
Since we're out of time, I'll just give you the quickest overview of my views about this. I think there are a long list of ways to read you. I can read your face. I can read your eyes. I can read your lips. I can read your voice. I can read your attitudes. I can know worlds about you after one meeting. Mm-hmm. And then if I claim that I got it from the cards or from your palm or some of your fingertips, my view is it is the most radical kind of cheating that you can do. I got it from all those things that I read.
It's really interesting. This guy never met me. Never. All he got from me was the finger points. We never spoke. It's like unrelated. It's like in regards to a book. He doesn't
no conversations. No phone conversations.
The first thing was here. He didn't even know if he wanted to work with me. And it was the same with the astrologer. He didn't know me at all. And I wanted to give him health advice on his kidneys because I know quite a bit about kidneys. And he just went like, wait a minute, I'd only take health advice for people that actually have this gift in their chart or something like that, right? So he sent away. He was busy talking to other people and kind of like wafted me off slightly. And then he looked at one glimpse at my chart and she's like, well, you are actually the one that needs to give me that information. Let's go into a different room. And the party was over. He went with me in that room. I gave him what I knew, and he gave me a little reading just to introduce me to Western astrology, Eastern astrology, and it was just like mind-blowing. Like he knew, he could sum up my first husband, my first child, my second husband, my second child in one sentence that was so accurate. It's incredible. And that's apparently mathematics in my birth thingy. He even knew the date when I flatlined. How is that possible? So
No,
it's just,
not possible.
that
I
is
agree with you.
really weird.
Okay, I'm going to tell you one little story and then break, and we'll talk about this however much more you want to later. This is the most interesting experiment I've ever heard about this. A professor in a college course said to the students that he thought there was something to this astrology business. And he had hired an astrologer, a very expert, famous astrologer who was going to read each of their charts. And he brought this astrologer into the class, and each of the people met with the astrologer. And then sometime later, he distributed in writing the reading that each of them had gotten. And he interviewed the class about the accuracy of the reading. And they
I've heard that before, but he gave everyone a different reading, right? He mixed up the reading.
No. Just let me finish the story.
Okay.
And he interviewed the class, and they were enthralled. They raved about how accurate the reading was. And then he revealed to them that he actually had not even brought in an astrologer. He brought in a random person. That the reading that they all were given was identical.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the reading that some astrologer had done of a serial killer.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've had that with Western astrology all the time. I have a big book of Western astrology where you can find your date and when you were born, and you open it up and it tells you exactly whatever that is, right? And I opened a random page and read to my beloved his birth date, and he said, oh yeah, it's so accurate. It's like, well, it's not even your birthday, right? So, but that's Western astrology, and there's so much out there, really. Like this guy asked me to get my son to type right and not write, and like 4 days before, I was in a meeting with school discussing that he shouldn't do the writing with the pen, but he should be writing with a typewriter, with a computer. Like, how on earth does he know that? It was too detailed. There was nothing generic about it. Nothing.
I do have to scoot, and we have our appointment for tomorrow, and for now, I do have to scoot.
Yeah, and I have no idea what this what his thing is. So I don't know much about it yet, but I would love you guys to meet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I forewarned you that I'm a skeptic.
Very good. Skepticism is good.
Okay.
Being a cynic is a good thing. It's a great thing.
Till tomorrow. No, I'm not a cynic, but on this particular subject, I'm skeptical.
Yeah.
But as to the ability to read your voice, read your face, read your picture, before ever meeting you, before ever interacting with you. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You're very readable. You're very present. You're very interpretable. I think someone could have a 1 second glimpse of a picture of you and know worlds about you, which is a tribute to what you radiate in your face. Till tomorrow.